The Xbox Series X specs have been fully revealed. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. So today we got some information, well, not just a little bit of information, but a lot of information about the Xbox Series X, the full spec reveal. We already had a pretty good understanding of what this console was going to be and just how powerful it was going to be. Well, we got everything we need to know now for the upcoming console when it is released this holiday season. So here are the specs themselves. You can see everything now that is going to be inside this box. Some of the things I wanted to look at: the CPU, 8 cores. The max I think is locked at 3.8 gigahertz, and then you can have all the cores at the same speed at 3.6 gigahertz. And this will be locked. Obviously, it's a console, so you're not going to be able to have different speeds. Developers aren't going to be able to max out the speeds or overclock the speeds and things like that. We already knew the 12 teraflops was coming. And if you watch a video from Digital Foundry, it's 12.155 teraflops or something like that. That's the exact amount. So extremely powerful console. It's like double the power of the Xbox Series X or the Xbox One X. Now there's a bunch of other stuff in here, but some of the other cool things that I found that was interesting was the 1 terabyte custom NVMe SSD and the external storage with the 3.2 external HDD port and the 1 terabyte expansion card. So I'm going to go over that a little bit further, show you some pictures of it, but it's really cool what they're doing with their 1 terabyte expansion cards for the Xbox Series X. So Digital Foundry did 2 really great videos because I got invited over to the Microsoft campus and they were able to really jump into the Xbox Series X and like see the actual thing live and how big it was and all kind of stuff, and then talk about all of these specs in it. I would highly recommend going to check out those 2 videos. They're pretty long, they're about 30 minutes each, but there's a lot of great information in them. But I just wanted to use their video right now to show you kind of what it actually looks like. So one of the main things about the Xbox Series X when it was first announced was that this looked like a mini PC tower. And in this video, they highly stress that it is not really a mini PC tower. It's not nearly big enough. They say it's about the size of 2 GameCubes stacked on top of each other. And then there's this comparison with it standing right against the Xbox One X, and it's about the same height as it. It's about the same length and width. Obviously, it's completely different form factor, so it's kind of hard to completely compare, but it's really not that big. It's way too small, I'd say, to be a mini PC tower, which is interesting because I thought it was going to be a lot bigger than what it actually is. Like, it's just 2 GameCubes stacked on top of each other. And if you remember the GameCube, those things were tiny. Even 2 of them on top of each other is still a pretty tiny console. Now, what they did with the console itself to actually make it have this form factor and make it work is that it's completely packed in extremely tight, but the airflow apparently from their tests that they did was really well done. And even though it's like a heavy packed in console, it's not going to overheat from what they've said so far. I mean, we're going to obviously have to put it through a real life test when it's released, but I mean, right now, I mean, it's not like the Xbox 360 days where they released the Xbox 360 and there was all those red rings of death. This is consoles now, when they come out, they're a lot more better tested. There's a lot less chance of failure compared to what it was like back in the day. So chances are this thing is going to be pretty good in terms of cooling, and it's probably not going to fail as much as like obviously the older style of consoles did back in the day. And one of the more interesting things that I think came out of this entire reveal of the Xbox Series X was the expandable storage. So as we know, there is an SSD, an NVMe SSD drive on the Xbox Series X, which will be 1 terabyte in size. And if you want to expand your storage, usually like right now with my Xbox One X, I have an external hard drive that's plugged in via USB. You're not going to be able to do that with the Xbox Series X. You can have an external hard drive device, but it will only be used to play Xbox One games, Xbox 360 games, and original Xbox games, as well as just transfer and store data for the Xbox Series X games. Now, if you want expandable storage for the Xbox Series X and you want to actually be able to play the games off that expandable storage, you're going to be going out and buying these interesting looking NVMe drives, which kind of look like old school memory cards to me. So these are custom made for Xbox. They worked with Seagate, obviously, as you can see right on there. And they just look like little mini memory cards like we had back in the day, which is very cool. The only thing that I'm a tiny bit concerned about with this is, since this is kind of proprietary technology for them, if we remember things like the PlayStation Vita when they had their proprietary memory cards and just how ridiculous the prices were on those things, and just how that really kind of thwarted the sales for the PS Vita, because that was terrible. That was one of the things that made that thing not sell very well. I'm just really hoping that Microsoft learned from that. They saw that, and they aren't going to make these things overly expensive. They're going to be around the same prices if you were to buy another drive for your Xbox. And if they do that, this is a really, really cool option. a lot easier to transport, obviously, than a hard drive device on the external hard drive device. Obviously easier to transfer than like a regular size SSD. So this is really cool to me. I think this will be really good if they get the price right. Now, there's also a lot of talk about the quick resume and the seamlessly being able to switch between multiple games. I think they had about 4 games they said you could switch between on the go. So this is really cool, and this is all just a product of the SSD as well as their Xbox Velocity architecture that they've talked a lot about. Now, this Xbox Velocity architecture is actually very interesting. It's not just to improve load times in games, and it's not just to improve the quick swap between games and the quick resume. Basically, what this architecture is allowing developers to do is store 100 gigabytes of game assets that can be instantly accessible, which is really cool because if you think about it, how many times are you playing open world games where it takes forever to fast travel because they have to load in these assets as you're fast traveling, or when you're going to a new area and there's like a quick loading screen so that you don't see all the assets loading in and everything. This could potentially be completely solved with this Xbox Velocity architecture because they're going to be able to store 100 gigabytes of assets from different parts of the world of whatever game you're playing that will instantly be accessible, instantly be loaded in. So it's going to take away things like fast travel loading. Like I said, it's going to take away just loading screens in general. You're not going to see lots of pop-ins because they're just going to be instantly there to be on screen when you're playing. Now, another big thing they talked about was the lack of latency and getting rid of latency with the console going over, or the controller going over to the console, then it reacting on your TV. Especially today when we have a lot of high refresh monitors, a lot of high refresh TVs, reducing that latency is very important. And if you're a competitive gamer, obviously when you're playing shooters and stuff, you want to have as little latency as possible. So that's also very important. And they have their Xbox architecture thing called dynamic latency input. And basically it's helping bridge the gap between the latency you're going to feel with the controller to the console to the TV, especially with 120 hertz refresh displays. And on top of that, this is obviously going to be pre-installed into your Xbox Series X controller. But if you have an Xbox One controller, you're going to be able to update that once you get an Xbox Series X to take advantage of this technology. Microsoft is also going back to older games, and they're using HDR to really make them look better. One of the games that Digital Foundry talked about was Fusion Frenzy. And if you remember, that was original Xbox game that came out, I think it came out like right at the beginning of its life cycle. And that game, apparently with HDR and the enhancements to its resolutions and everything, just looks like a brand new game. And we've already kind of experienced that with the Xbox Series, with the Xbox One X. Like the names Series X, One X keep getting me mixed up, but with the Xbox One X, we've already experienced original Xbox games that have been upgraded to be higher resolution, to have better frame rates, and just how much better they actually look. They look like brand new games. Like one of the games I remember is Crimson Skies. Looks like a brand new game if you play it now on your Xbox One X. And of course, they're not just going to be doing that with original Xbox games. They're going to go back with games that came out for the Xbox One, for example, Gears 5, and they are going to update it to have ultra settings and be the best looking game possible on the Xbox Series X. And from first-hand experience, I played Gears 5 on my PC with an RTX 2080 in ultra settings in 60 FPS, and it was incredible looking with the HDR and all that kind of stuff. So if there's a big difference from that version compared to the Xbox One X version, although the Xbox One X version is still very good looking. But yeah, all in all, it was a really interesting news that came out. I would definitely recommend, like I said, going to check out those Digital Foundry videos. I'll link them both in the description below. They did a great job. They're longer, but they go over everything. I just want to talk about some of the stuff that really stood out to me. And the biggest things, the form factor of the console itself isn't really like a mini PC tower. It's a lot smaller than I thought it was going to be. And then those memory cards, those expandable SSD cards, I'm really interested to see how much those are going to cost. And I think the actual form factor of those are awesome. But that's what I want to talk about. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comments below. Let me know if you've watched the videos. Let me know if you've read the articles, what you think about all the information that came out on the Xbox Series X today. I would love to know in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up button, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and I'll catch you in the next video.